Morning, guys. Just let me know if you can hear me okay, and we'll get into the action. Should be coming through okay now, I'm guessing. All right. Just give me a nod or thumbs up if you can hear me okay. Fantastic. All right, let's rock and roll. So overnight, you can see action is just picking up a bit at the moment after hours. So that's it. That's kind of interesting. I don't know if anything's come out. If there's been a news release or there's been talk up of trade or something like that. But we'll soon see. So US overnight, it pretty much it opened down. We had numbers out of Germany, was it producer or manufacturing index or something, that come out at, I think it was around 5:30 data release, and it come out a lot well, less than expected, showing contraction. So that was a major concern. That you can see the DAX, well, the DAX dropped like a bit of a stone. Let's just look at it. So that was the 5 o'clock release. It just dropped out of the sky, and that's pressured European markets coming into the US. US was down, the futures were down anyway, and it did manage to bounce back. The US and the Dow finished up, but the S&P, the broader market S&P finished pretty much flat along with the Nasdaq. So it was much of a nothing sort of a night, more of more flat due to what happened over in Europe, and that's obviously got that's cause for concern globally because the EU, they're the biggest, I think, the biggest economy in the EU, that pretty much pumped the EU, and they're not potentially showing a few more cracks. So it's a good, I guess. Oh, what do they call it? What do they call it? What do they call it? It's what am I trying to say here? The ECB recently cut rates, and it supports the fact that they're potentially going to be more aggressive on rate cuts, rather than things getting better. Let's not cut so much and let's see what happens. So it's just proof that potentially it's slowing a bit more than what they expect, which is obviously going to crimp global growth as well. It's going to put pressure globally potentially. US dollar rallied on the back of that because it's a safe haven. You get more yield, as euros cutting rates. The yield is in the US dollar, so you can see the euros just got thumped, I think. Yeah, same as so. Pretty much most markets around 5:30 got smacked around a bit. The Aussie actually wasn't too bad. That's consolidating those lows at the moment after pressing down. The pound got knocked around a bit. The yen, surprisingly, you would have thought the US dollar got bought up at that stage, but it's the safe haven yen buying that seems to be counteracting that move, and the yen's pushing down. Um, it has bounced back up into the close, and we have got this little rally, the last hour or so. We're on a 30-minute chart. We're on a 30-minute chart. Yeah, 30-minute chart. So bouncing back, and it seems to be, last hour or so, the US is bouncing as well, which is your typical after hours movement, just to throw a bone, or what is it, a bone into the works there, confuse people. The S&P is the same, the DAX, what's that doing now? So they're all bouncing back a bit after hours. Now, it was kind of bear in chief. Yeah, thanks, mate. I'm bearish and I'm buying. It's kind of weird. I'm always looking. I think we mentioned this before. I was bearish for a while. I didn't have many positions on because it was holding those lows. As soon as it started bouncing back, you know you're wrong. Maybe not longer term, but you know shorter term you're wrong. You've got to jump in to buy. It's as simple as that. Buy some stuff that is setting up and it's paid off, kicking along nicely. But yeah, I'm always looking for that outside chance that the market's going to sell off. What could trigger it? Now, obviously, everyone's focused on the trade, and now I find it really convenient, and I think the market's getting a bit sick of it. Maybe that I don't know how to Moochen, US, is it Treasury Secretary or something, said last night that the Chinese was the cancelled on the request of the US. You go, hey, so why didn't you say that on Friday when you announced that they cancelled? So it seems to be, to me, I read into that as either a bunch of rubbish, and then Trump mentioned, or on the back of that, he said, yeah, they're committed to buying agricultural goods or whatever. So I either see that as complete rubbish, and they're trying to support the market at the right time around the open when the US market's trading, or they're just being manipulative. Maybe it's true, but I just don't see any reason why they wouldn't have said anything to support the market on Friday when the news come out, because that's when the market got smacked around a bit. So yeah, all interesting stuff. And it's still, the market's well and truly focused on trade and what's going to happen in the coming talks. Early next month, I think. Well, they're scheduled. I don't know actually what date they're scheduled for, when they're scheduled for. So it just seems to be, they're talking it up. US need to talk it up. Obviously, the elections are coming in 2020, and he wants it to be positive into 2020, break into all-time highs so he can beat his drums a bit. But yeah, I think the market's just sort of sitting, waiting. It was more of a waiting game last night than anything else. There might be some opportunity. So we'll just go through our market. So we've just opened up and we've popped up. We'll go to a 5-minute chart. So this was the closing candle. It's opened up a bit stronger because obviously what you're seeing on the overnight markets just popping up a bit as well. So we're potentially at 67.23 to 35, another 10 or 12 points at the moment. Now, if we hold up these gains, we're going to open up about 20 points probably on the ASX. You would have thought it was about 5 to 10 points from that close at around 67.23. The market's just popped up for whatever reason. Could be news driven. There could have been something just come out, given something to do with trade. You would expect void the market a bit. So yeah, our market's looking like if this SPY opens up here or holds at these levels, then yeah, you'd expect it to. Let's just see what the 5-minute chart's saying. You'd expect to just the ASX is going to open up a little bit stronger than what we expected. So this is it. The action from yesterday was, to me, it's just rubbish. It gapped up. You pop up, test the overnight highs. That's from, was it the overnight highs? Yeah, 3 a.m. on Friday night. Tested those highs, backed off. It kept getting supported. It looks like the liquidity kept jumping in, spiking it up, come straight back down. So it was just oscillating. The holding the lower highs. So you come into the close. This was at 4 o'clock. It spiked through those lows, took out a few stops, and then on the reopen of the night session got smacked all the way back down to 66.92. So it's kind of weird considering that that was just coming into the numbers. That would have been caused mainly, I guess, that move could have fallen short there around 67.18, except that's when the German data came out around 5:30. So the overall markets were getting, or the DAX was getting knocked about a bit, along with the FTSE and European markets. So that was probably exacerbated a bit. And we've had this slow grind back up again. Sort of closed half of that gap, I guess, into the close of the US session. Then we've just gapped back up again. So it's very much choppy markets. And you can see it's been, we've got some support around 66.92. The market's got bought back up again. And we look like we're going to be targeting back up towards the highs, 67.54. So it really is a choppy market. And it's what we were saying yesterday. The market's gapped up on the open and then getting sold into. And we only opened up. So we're up at 40 points or so at one stage on the open. And then we ended up only at 18 points. So it's the tougher. It is. I mean, it's not a bull market as such, but it seems to be gapping on the open, chopping around a bit, and not sustaining any sort of serious gains. You would have thought if this is gaining like it did, it would have held onto the gains and pressed up into the close, finished on a strong note rather than a weak note. So yeah, I'm always skeptical of things at the moment. Sort of a bit of argy-bargy, bit of rotation from sector to sector, from day to day. So that's the SPY. We'll see if it can open up here. I mean, this thing gets a bit extended. We might have another press up, extend into the highs, maybe up to 45 or so, and then we could get some sort of reversion to the mean trade going. Otherwise, there hasn't been too many, from the open, a bit of a pullback, consolidate, and then go again, a continuation trade. It's more of that reversion to the mean and that chop where they're really, from yesterday's action, I didn't have a crack at it. There could have been a trade in here, but nothing felt too clean to me. It just, the way it got supported, bang off those lows, straight back up again. It was too choppy. It just felt really choppy, and that wasn't, to me, a clear reversion to the mean with what we'd be looking for as the M pattern we discussed. Didn't play out that way. Let's just go to the yen. That trend, you look at that major rolling over, it could, we say there's some highs or some liquidity and then powered through it, and now we've just been bought back up again. So really, there is potential for a lower high to build. And if you're looking for a trade on that, you're probably looking for some sort of lower high to build a hold around here. Well, maybe it's going to chop around a bit. And then I'd be ideally, like we always say, look for your shoulders. If you've got a shoulder trade, if you don't know what we're talking about, with something like this, if it props up and then you get this sort of chop, then you get your shoulder. That's essentially what it's gonna do is put the squeeze on the lows, on the buyers, and press lower. So that's what we'd be looking for, some sort of shoulder entry where you can enter, on the break. Let's just draw that on a break, something like that, and your risk is just above it. You know that there's a whole lot of longs being built up here. It's spiked up and may have washed out a few more, just dragged in a few more longs, sorry, and then roll over. Once you get the shoulder trade, it's shown a sign of weakness, and you might get those longs that are bailing and selling into the market, just to keep that momentum on the downside. So that's what we're probably looking at on the yen. Yep, the yen at the moment. And you can see that stochastics are coming up to sort of overbought zone. We're holding below. Last time we were overbought, we're up here. So it's struggling at a lower level, which means that sellers are still piling in and potentially pressing that market lower. The pound is got all these Brexit issues there. Let's just clear that up. So this did play out like we expected, except it fell apart after that. Let's just go there. So the pound has still got these issues, Brexit issues. You've got the major levels that's popped up here, high, low here, pressed up. This high, low, I'd suggest is just broken. You can see it did pop up. It didn't get through these highs, so you got to look at the strength of a push through the highs, whereas this was, powered through those highs quite easily, and it didn't look back. So there's a lot more buying pressure in that move up, rather than this move off the lows. It popped up through these highs, then pulled back. It was quite a deep. It was probably about a 50 to 60% move of this leg up. Found some support, but it took a lot longer to find some support. So it was really trying to base out, get some buys, find that buying zone, or the liquidity zone, which you can lift off. And you did have a higher low, which a shoulder again, this little entry. If you can see that, I'll just draw that up. This little zone in here might have been a nice zone. You can buy the breakout. You've got it did power on when it's in hindsight, but you also had that double bottom, that retest fail that we talk about a lot, play out quite nicely. The shoulder, power up. This one, this potentially a shoulder. You've got an inside level. It wasn't really off a major test that spiked into there. Didn't give it a solid test. And generally, what I'm looking for that type of price action, if you can draw it up, there's two different ways. You've got the market sort of powered down, and then if it comes down, and then you get your shoulder like that, that's one thing, but that's not really a retest because it hasn't broken the anchor. Ideally, what you want is for the market to push down. You might get it pop up, break the anchor, press down, retest, and then you got your shoulder. So to me, they're two different things. And it's whereas your first one was more like this. You got your shoulder, but it didn't really carry on. But the second one, you had it sort of wash out, took out the anchor, straight back down to that support, and then built the shoulder. And you can see the reaction back up again. So once you've got it sort of wash out, has a go, sellers pile back in before it breaks an anchor, and then, sorry, this is back in here. They press back down, and it sort of chops around, holds a high low, but it really hasn't done too much to break an anchor. Once you get it sort of pop up and then retest, and it fail again for a second time, and it's a lot stronger signal for a reversal, and that's what you got played out there. So anyway, I thought I'd touch on that. So they're two different scenarios. Just keep an eye on the difference. If you can start marking up anchors, anchors to a downtrend, and where if it breaks there, what happens after that? Can you get a shoulder to trade off on the long side, and so on? So yeah, the pound, it's to me that's we flushed out this high, didn't really go too far. Let's just draw that up. Didn't go too far, and then we sort of got this pullback, high low, pressed up again. We did get through that. Your initial reaction, you pop through and come straight back again to retest it and pop up again. I don't see that as too much strength, and you can see the markets turn around and really broken through this level at 124.44. From here, I think there could be some more weakness coming to the pound. It just depends. It might chop around. You'd want to see more of potentially a retest up to this high. I mean, it's a long way off, or a key lower high start to play out before you get some weakness. But maybe it's something like this. You've got the market pressed up, powered through that high, but the next push up didn't take out the high very much. Pull back, deep correction, pushed up through the highs, and then it just failed. And then you're looking for some sort of reaction or pop to sell into. All right, that's what we're not much on the pound though, to be honest. The yen looks a bit better, and the euro is probably, I see as quite a good continuation pattern at the moment. So we've got the market, confirmed this high, washed it out, a big washout. You can see the market piled in, sellers piled in after that, and that's exactly what we're talking about. This move up, you got your anchor. Actually, it didn't really break an anchor, did it? It was powered up, comes straight back down, test that low, popped up again, washed out that high, and then we've got sellers coming in. So this key level could be a major lower high. If you look in the larger context, this market's pressed down, popped up, pressed down, popped up. You've got a lower high potentially, or a liquidity zone of sellers coming in, piling into the market, and you've got a lower high in here, and the market's pressing down. So at the moment, we say it's going from offer to bid. So it's going from the offer price, the sellers, to the bid price. So this is potentially a target for a move down to retest those lows again. There's not much in the way of that at the moment, and you've got the market pressing down. You've got that retest, then you've got your shoulder potentially in here. What? Let's just see. I just want to draw over this. So this is what I'm talking about. The market's pressed up. Come on, pressed up, pulled back. You've got that retest, shoulder, and then the momentum on the way down. So potentially, that's what we could be looking for. All right. So if that's the case, we'll be looking for some sort of minor lower high in here, and there is potential that it's just playing out now. I mean, you could break through that low. You've got 1, 2, 3 tests of these highs. If it breaks through that low, potentially could just keep playing lower. The problem is, well, I find the problem is there might be some action in the Asian session, but it's not rare, I would say. This action played out at 5:30, so a lot of the action is sort of grindy in the Asian session coming to the start of the European, and then you get the kickoff of a trend or a move. It's kind of rare that it happens outside of that session, or it happens into the US session. So just be wary of that if you're going to go short. I mean, you're going to have tight risk anyway, but it does, to me, there's no reason why that's push down. We've contracted back up. We'll look to expand down again. Aussie just consolidating those lows. I wouldn't be shorting just yet. I don't think it looks like a short. It could have a bit of a retracement of this leg down, a deeper retracement, 50%, before we get another lower high play out and potentially continue that longer term trend down. Again, we'll just have to see how it goes. If it chops around for here for too long and retests and fails retest this low and starts to pop up, then we could start to attack back up to these highs at 68.08. But I still think the reason it's chopping around here, there's no real news out on China. It could bounce a bit, but we'll just see. I don't really see too much on the Aussie just yet. It hasn't played out. Gold, we'll have a look at gold, powering on nicely. And this is what we're saying. I think way back here, we're expecting to be bought up off that support zone. And it did nicely. It got bought up here, spiked straight back into it, but it's rejected 1, 2, 3 times on this key support. So it did plow into that support and it's getting bought straight back up. Each time it got bought back up again. So that, to me, is a good sign of strength. Maybe it's taken a bigger run up. You can see it's come back up to test these highs. Maybe that high up there is washed them out, but maybe that's just there, pop up, retest, lower high, and then plow back down to the support. But at the moment, there's safe haven buying still jump in. They're still committed to jump in. I don't think anything's proven itself just yet, with regards to trade war and talks going forward. So I'll just have to wait and see. That's trend is up. This trend is up, hasn't changed. Anchor. You've got an anchor here. You've got an anchor just down here. You've got your anchor just in here, or your swing levels, whatever you want to call it. Swang, swang, swang. Up we go. At the moment, until it breaks this level, around here, say 15, 16, we're $5, $6 off that. It could easily swing and start to power back up from here. I mean, quite easily just continue that trend up. And from there, if that pushes back up above this side and start attacking up here at around 15.26, I'm expecting that to be pushing to 15.50. And again, it's like what we said, offer to bid. It's bid to offer. Your bid zone to your offer zone, or your buying liquidity zone to your selling liquidity zone, where we might find some sort of reaction lower off 15.50, if it gets there, of course. If this trend can continue and power on up to 15.50. Well, that's about it, guys. I don't see much on. This is the Dow. S&P's got that liquidity zone. It looks contained between bid and the offer. So you got this resistance up at 30.19 and your support zone around 29.81. Potentially it's going to power up into trading up into those highs, touching into new all-time highs, and then maybe falling over. I mean, who knows just yet? We'll keep an eye on that. The Dow's much of the same. So the anchor here, if you can see, really is this zone through here. So you can see, and you've got the previous anchors there, potentially here, and then you've got off this bid zone way down at 25.270. So the market's trending up. That was quite a powerful move. It chopped around here and then got bought straight back up again. And we've had this contraction lower. So at the moment we're contraction low, we're looking for expansion again, potentially, or just to power through this low. We don't really suggest, it's hard to say that that's, 1, 2, 3 tests, we fail, we go back up again and test it and we're starting to fail again. Whether or not that's a key double top that's starting to play out, and whether that's enough to take us straight through this support, or whether it's just okay, we can't get through now, let's contract a bit more and start to lift. So if we get, two things, we could just fail on here, fail off here, let's just go here. We might get, it's not what I wanted, let's just try that again. Delete that. We might just push down, build a lower high and come back down, test these lows, and then that could be what plays out. Or we sort of pull back and do the reverse and hold this higher level, and we start to power up into new all-time highs. Away we go. So at the moment, I don't know which hat to go on, Lauren. I don't know if I've got my bullish or bearish hat on at the moment. So all I'm doing is just trying to figure out, well, get a plan of attack. What are we going to see? What do I want to see if I'm bearish? Okay, that lower high could bring in more bears, drag the market lower, and it's probably going to be news driven. Don't forget Trump and his team are going to come out to support the market any chance they get, anytime they need. So you just could be aware of that you get loaded long, loaded short, or you cut out your positions, and overnight he supports it, the market takes off. It's funny times at the moment. All right, that's about it, guys. Let's just see where the ASX is nearly finished opening up 8 points, so not quite as strong as what we thought. The SPY might have come back, which that's not the one I want, is it? SPY, just see where the SPY go again. Oh, it's still going high. I would have expected that SPY, say the ASX, to be a bit higher than this. 9 points. It's got a couple more minutes. It might be 10 to 15. And then you get the SPY dropping off those highs. But look, we'll have a look. We'll see how we go. Anyway, guys, we'll call it a day. We'll be back in tomorrow morning. Good luck with your session today. Keep an eye on it. Keep safe and have a good day. Cheers. Bye.